Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and coming up today I'm going to tell you how WWE is able to keep filming despite the ongoing global situation. I'm going to tell you the latest on the XFL going bankrupt, and I'm going to talk about the Money in the Bank lineup after last night's Raw.
Plus, historical allegations of harassment by Randy Orton and Edge have emerged, and a new stable debuted last night on Raw. This is the news.
But let's kick things off with a kind of summary of what's going on with WWE and how they're able to keep taping. Yesterday saw the Orange County mayor in Florida issue a statement on WWE specifically saying that they're able to keep going because they've been classified as an essential business. Here's the quote from the press conference. Jerry Demings here. I think initially there was a review that was done and they were not initially deemed an essential business. With some conversation with the governor's office regarding the governor's order, they were deemed an essential business. So therefore, they were allowed to remain open. Now, this is something we've spoken a fair bit about across various platforms, so we're not going to dive into it in too much detail here, but it definitely needs to be mentioned this morning. WWE is able to keep going because they apparently, alongside doctors, nurses, and essential grocery stores, are an essential business, apparently. Don't know how they worked that out, but hey, I'm not the mayor guy, so...
Like you say, we're not going to go into too great a detail here, Andy. All I'm going to say is SpongeBob meme, essential business.
Hey.
So, whatever. But the bad news keeps coming for WWE, with former WWE Diva Search contestant Amy Weber alleging harassment by Edge and Randy Orton stemming from her time in the company in 2005. This is all part of a new video uploaded to her personal YouTube channel. She claimed that the two hassled her on a WWE flight, with Orton bumping into her chair and bombarding her with verbal abuse, and Edge pouring a drink on her while she slept. Now, she says this may have stemmed from her taking 2 ibuprofen tablets from the men's locker room, which is something a trainer told to do, but it was basically the catalyst for her leaving the company. She said that she decided at the end of that flight she no longer wanted to work with the WWE. She didn't wish to continue, quote, in an environment where people really had no respect for me. Now, we know allegations have bounced around in the past around this sort of thing, Andy, but always sad to hear more of these sort of things come to light.
Yeah, just stuff like this really sucks to hear about. I mean, reading some of the stuff that's come out of this video and watching a few clips, she says that Randy Orton barged into the seat that she was sleeping on like a linebacker. She fell to the floor. Edge pouring a drink on her. That's really, I mean, it's all alleged, obviously, but if true, that's some pretty awful goddamn behaviour. Now, should be pointed out that Amy Weber has spoken about this in the past. She said that she hated a lot of being in WWE because it was like a frat house-like environment, I think she said. And, it's not the first time the allegations for Randy Orton have come up relating to people who were in the Diva Search. Rochelle Lewin, of course, he famously left a deposit in her bag or whatever.
Very well handled that, Andy. I couldn't do something like that, the way you described it.
I mean, hey, I can talk around, man. I can talk the bollocks. This is the kind of thing, we weren't there, so we can't sit here and say this is true, this is false. We can't pass any kind of judgment. The only people that can do that, really, on situations like this, are those that were there. I mean, Amy Weber, like I say, she's spoken out on stuff like this in the past. It's not the first thing we've heard about Randy Orton, but it is the first thing I think we've heard about Edge.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Like you say, Andy, there's always been a suggestion of hazing new recruits with WWE that sounds awful, and something that I think none of us except maybe Miller at WhatCulture could probably get through. But yeah, surprising to hear Edge's name bouncing around with this, especially with the story, like you say, of him just effectively pouring a drink on her while she slept, and when she turned around and tried to deal with this, he, despite still holding a cup in his hand, once again, these are only allegations, just completely no-sold that he'd done anything. Weird.
Yeah, really weird, really odd, really strange. What the hell's going on? Want to know what the hell's going on with the XFL? Let's talk. It's gone, it's dead, it's kaput. This kind of unfolded over the weekend. They got rid of all their employees apart from top-level executives. They said they weren't planning on returning for 2021. All the players were let go, told to find teams somewhere else, presumably in the NFL. Well, now, after going bankrupt last night, the league is up for sale. Vince McMahon is trying to find a buyer. This comes to us via The Hollywood Reporter, says that they're trying to find a buyer to score as much money from their assets as possible so that they can pay their creditors. In the bankruptcy filings, it was noted that the XFL currently has between 10 and 50 million worth of liabilities, similar figure for assets, and they owe over 14 million to their top 25 creditors. Also interesting coming out of all of this, coming out of the filings, is proof that when Vince McMahon said this is a separate entity to WWE, it has nothing to do with WWE, well, all that was a bag of nonsense, because it was revealed that WWE actually owns 23.5% of the XFL's Class B shares. So it was all a bunch of garbage all along, you silly lying man. Vince, you never do that. What are you doing? Either way, it sounds like the XFL is either kaput or it's going to push forward under new ownership. Maybe it's time for Vince to just wash his hands of this altogether.
Yeah, no, it is kaput. Why are you trying? Imagine trying to sell anything other than toilet roll in the current situation.
Face masks and bread.
It's not going to be salvaged anytime soon, in my opinion, considering we don't know when this is going to be solved. It's like, buying a football team or a soccer team right now. And I realise I said that for our American viewers. I mean, it's like buying a football team or a football team right now. It's not going to happen because we cannot judge as and when this is going to come back. Also, do you ever have that thing where you find out about like a famous person dying because one of your unlikely friends, let's just say, texts you a joke about them, and then you go, oh, well, I guess they're dead then. The way I found out about the XFL being, like you say, kaput, is a tweet from someone going, oh, I guess me, Adam Wilborn and Andy Murray aren't going to get to watch the Baltimore Bastards anymore, or something along those lines. I was like, oh, cool, guess XFL's done then.
Yeah, the Bastards, rest in peace, the Seattle Salmon, the San Francisco 69ers. Where's Tim Bradley going to go next? I don't know, but Rob the Gron Cow, man, he's kicking about in WWE now. There's options for these guys. It just kind of sucks that people have lost their jobs and stuff.
Indeed. Right, let's start this episode of Monday Night Raw. He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy. Seth Rollins attacking Drew McIntyre after his match with Andrade for the WWE Championship. But last night's show also saw a new stable debut on WWE Raw. I mean, it's new officially, but it's kind of a stable you probably would have expected. It's Andrade, it's Angel Garza, and it's Austin Theory. It's Zelina Vega's men, basically. They've all sort of been in the same sphere. Obviously, Andrade missed WrestleMania, but they had the tag match with Garza and Theory, and they've all been associated with each other, with the central point, of course, being, as I said, Zelina Vega. But now they clearly are working as a unit. They targeted people throughout the night with Andrade hitting them with a finisher off the top rope to build towards his clash at the end of the night, champion versus champion for Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship. He was unsuccessful in that match. But yeah, I like this as a little setup, and probably going to be utilised a lot more going forward with Andrade defending his United States Championship, you feel. There is no official name for Zelina Vega's men, so feel free to suggest some in the comments section below.
It's obviously the Vega boys, right? It's like the Vega boys, you get rid of the N, perfect. They're going to be on a bus, they're going to be going to Ibiza, it's going to be tremendous stuff. No, it's nice to see this thing kind of coming together officially. It was, I want to say a loose affiliation, but it really wasn't loose. They've been palling around together, combinations of this trio for ages. But it's good. It's nice. I like a manager-led stable. I think they fit together quite well. Austin Theory getting hot-shotted up to the main roster was really quite weird. But, he looks like he belongs, and he carries himself like he belongs. And, he's only like 22, 23, and he's got a lot to learn. But, learning under the wing of a guy like Andrade, a seasoned veteran like Andrade, who's been doing this for a deceptively long-ass time, I think it's a good move. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes next.
I'm desperately scrambling in my head for something along the lines of, whoa, we're going to Arena.
We'll get there maybe when we have crowds and stuff. Get that thing singing. It'll pop off. It'll pop off. Speaking of popping off, how about Money in the Bank? That card
How
is
is
coming...
this still going ahead?
Probably in the empty Performance Center. Obviously, Baltimore, the home of the bastards, cancelled the other month. But we've got the first pieces of a card, something resembling a card anyway. The only matches that are official so far are the men's and women's ladder matches. Obviously, they're not quite full yet, but we'll get to that. So, on the women's side, we have 3 confirmed participants. We have Shayna Baszler, who murdered Sarah Logan on last night's Raw. We have Asuka, who beat Ruby Riott in a very competitive match. And we have Nia Jax, who killed Kairi Sane in like 2.5 minutes. I kind of wanted to see Kairi Sane jumping off ladders doing elbow drops, but hey, not going to get that opportunity. Anyway, this match will be filled. There are Naomi and Dana Brooke. They're wrestling on SmackDown. Winner goes in, and there are 2 more slots to be confirmed for that as well. On the men's side, all we have are qualifying matches. So on the Raw side, MVP versus Apollo Crews, Rey Mysterio versus Murphy, and Aleister Black versus Austin Theory. Aleister Black, that's not his ring name. They will all wrestle each other on Raw next week. We've also got Cesaro versus Daniel Bryan on SmackDown this week, which will rule. And 2 more matches as well to be confirmed. So it's coming together nicely. There's some talented names in there. I like what I'm seeing, particularly from the men's side. I think all of those, Apollo Crews is going to beat MVP. And then one of Rey and Murphy, one of Aleister Black and Austin Theory. It's looking nice. It's looking good.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that Money in the Bank is going ahead, but I've mentioned before, it's one of my favourite pay-per-views WWE puts on. And the build to it this year looks sensational. Like you say, 3 phenomenal competitors. Shame Kairi Sane didn't make it. But let's just say, let's say an eclectic mix of competitors on the women's side of things so far. Asuka, Shayna Baszler, and Nia Jax. Whatever you feel about Nia Jax, she does add another element to that match I really like, and you wouldn't have the inevitable WWE teasing of Asuka and Kairi splitting in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I think Shayna Baszler should win the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I'll just say that out right now, because I love the idea of her just stalking Becky Lynch, and then when we get crowds back, we actually get the match that we should have got at WrestleMania, with hopefully Shayna Baszler murdering Becky Lynch. And then men's side of things, like you say, the matches we've got next week on Raw, and obviously Cesaro versus Bryan for a spot on the men's one. I mean, Murphy versus Mysterio, Black Austin Theory, and Apollo Crews versus MVP. I'm in for all this.
Yeah, it's a bunch of exciting little lineups. They're building to it in a nice, cool way. Lots of fun little matches. I can't complain.
Do you know what I'm going to say, Andy? Could this be the best Money in the Bank ever?
I'm
going to say it. And I'm going to try and get the Daily Boys to predict who they think is going to win it a little bit later on today on one of our podcasts, hopefully. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. Matt Rains starts us off, who says, with WWE going back to live shows, it begs the question, are WWE shows in this environment better off being taped? Being able to edit things they don't like with zero audience clearly has its advantages. I suppose you could apply that to the Shayna Baszler match last night, Andy.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely think they should tape everything, not just from the editorial side, but also because, I mean, this crap's unsafe. So do it in as little time as possible. Do it with as few journeys as possible. I would have preferred them to just bulk tape the next few weeks of Raw and SmackDown like they were originally supposed to do, but hey, here we are. Yeah, I think it makes sense. We saw it in the ladder match at WrestleMania. There was loads of cuts, loads of edits and stuff. It allowed Jimmy Uso to take that crazy bump to the outside. A couple of times it wasn't the smoothest. Some of the cuts were a little bit rough, but you can kind of iron that out with the process. So yes, I'm all in favour of this.
Yeah, I think so too. I was just so confused when they gave the match to Sarah Logan last night. I was like, huh? For Shayna Baszler doing a move on her that she does in all of her. Anyway. Right, second question today comes from Tim Upton, who says, with the XFL declaring bankruptcy, do you presume Vince will now, again, be more focused on the WWE? And if so, are you nervous that we'll see any progress made to the product over the last 6 months completely vanish?
His full focus goes back to WWE now, I think, once he gets this monkey shaken off his back entirely. Hasn't worked. The ongoing global situation has obviously made things very difficult for him, but his game plan through all of this was to eat losses for the first 3 years and then prey on a big TV deal. So he would have been preoccupied for at least 2.5 more years. So I think he'll come back. As far as progress and stuff goes, man, like, the product has changed a fair bit, right? But it is still at its core kind of the same thing. There are a few different pieces here and there. You can see Paul Heyman's fingerprints. SmackDown less so. So I don't think we'll be seeing any monumental changes. We'll see a few snippets here and there, but I think you're still going to get the Raw and SmackDown that you're kind of used to.
Yeah, I think any time that he took out of his schedule was not taken away from WWE. It was just whatever little sleep he used to get, yeah, that just went into XFL instead. Final question today comes from Mike on the mic, who says, after seeing his bit in the #Firefly Funhouse match at WrestleMania 36, if WWE wants to make a new NWO faction with John Cena as the leader, which current roster members would you choose to be a part of the NWO? You get 3 extra members, Andy. Who you go?
Current roster members. Obviously, you'd want like a Kevin Nash or someone lurking around, but he's not a current roster member. Wow, who'd be a good fit? I think the Usos would be a good fit. They're kind of boisterous. They're kind of loud fellas. They like to shout and hoot and holler. I think they'd be a good fit. They're really good heels as well. Let's get some muscle in there as well. Let's get a guy who they don't know what to do with. Let's get Bobby Lashley in there. Why not? I might be the last Bobby Lashley fan standing, man, but I think he could do some good stuff.
No,
as like
even I was going, he
enforcer.
Can't lose to No Way Jose on Raw.
God, yeah. I know. It's that fear was in my heart throughout the whole thing.
I was like, roll up, roll up, roll up. No, please, God. Yeah, I like that. Do you know, I'd like a big draft move from one stable to just say another stable. Big E. That's how you turn Big E heel. I think he'd be great in the NWO as well, because you need people who can talk.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I just have a stable of all people who you thought could never turn heel. So yeah, Big E. I know people have always been predicting him to turn heel, but he never actually really. I suppose technically the New Day were heel, but you know, for the last few years, it's seemingly impossible. So I'd like something like that. But yeah, let us know in the comment section who else you'd like to see in Cena's version of the NWO. Maybe we'll do a podcast about it in the future. Right, let's move on to today's. And finally, it's Tuesday. You know what that means. More Brody Lee stuff on Twitter, basically. Did you see this yesterday? Evil Uno has been reminding Brody Lee what day it is and what that means, of course, on Twitter, since Brody Lee was revealed as the Exalted One in the Dark Order. So he tweeted that. He tweeted this yesterday. It's Monday at this Brody Lee. You know what that means. Brody Lee responded, "It's Mr. Brody Lee, though." And then Trent, because he's brilliant, replied, "Do you make them do sex stuff or not yet?" So not do you make them do sex stuff or not, do you make them do sex stuff or, you know, pump the brakes on that? Not quite yet.
Yeah, give it another month or so. I love Trent, man. Best friends are the best at Twitter, 100%.
So good. Let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Dudley Boys will be reviewing Monday Night Raw a little bit later on today. Plus, let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. And watch there, you can follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for hurdy-gurdy. I don't even know what that is.
Ooh, I haven't heard that word for quite some time. You can follow me. It's like that and Helter Skelter. You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. God, it's good to be back, Andy. My thanks, Andy Murray. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.